that $8.4 million in bonding, and not just to cover this this burden that the state is putting on us. As much as I don't like the conditions of the amendment, we really don't have a choice, and I think you're going to have to pass this resolution to petition on the so that they can adopt the housing element. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mary Ann Hennessy?
Mine is a minor question on Resolution 650, the agreement with NJDCA on the preservation. I was just wondering, how are the 6 households chosen, and who chooses them? What is the criteria?
Mr. Cancro, can you answer that?
Council Vice President, it's a minimum of 6 households. It's based on income criteria set forth by DCA.
And who, if you've got more than 6 people that meet this criteria, who makes the decision as to who's going to be the 6? Is there a committee? Is it a township committee?
The program is an extension of the Neighborhood Preservation Program, which is run by Sharon Gray. It would be her input and her supervisor that would make that determination based on the income criteria set forth by DCA.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Townsend?
Jane Tausman, 14 Butler Road, Edison. Concerning Resolution 640, I certainly would like to see you adopt what Mr. Mazzaro has talked about. It gives you, as a council, some wiggle room. Now, even the courts have said that when you make a reasonable effort to comply with COA's rules, that basically they felt that even the builder's remedy would not be applied. So, I certainly think that going with something that puts a modest amount of wiggle room in there, since there are so many questions about COA, since COA and some of the data that's come out of COA has taken things like graveyards and backyards and wetlands that the EPA has said are wetlands, and other areas which are inappropriate for any type of housing. There are lots of questions here. And granted, they're not going to be solved tonight. But I still think that you should leave yourselves a reasonable amount of option here. And by putting the without prejudice in there, with prejudice in there, you're just locking yourself in. I think one of them that gives you a little wiggle room would be very, very much welcomed. And I don't think it would take too much doing to change the resolution, to throw that in so that you do have some wiggle room. Thank you on that one. The other one that I have a question on is 671 resolution. I was wondering what sort of an agreement did you reach with the AFSCME people? What sort of percentage of increase can we see here? What are we looking at?
Council President, I would defer to legal counsel on.
Well, we discussed this in closed session, but now you're actually moving forward with it. The terms of the agreement will be on file with the clerk's office, but it is a 5-year agreement. Some of it's retroactive, and the specific terms of it will be identified in there. This council did discuss it in closed session. If they act upon it, then that contract will be. That contract is a public document if this resolution is adopted.
So in other words, if you pass this tonight, then I can ask about it during public portion and get some more specifics, because I'd like to know exactly what we're talking about here, because there's a lot of rumor out there, and you can put it all to bed with the facts, and I think that's very, very important.
Well, if they adopt the resolution, it becomes a public document.
All right. Well, I would hope for more, but we'll have to leave it to your discretion at this point. But there are serious questions here about the raises that were given in Edison. Lots of them are raised. When I go to shopping centers or when I'm in public, I get lots of questions, and I don't always have the answers. But here's one answer that at least can be concrete and can come forward tonight, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Stevens?
Bill Stevens, Pole Place, Edison, on Resolution 640 and 648. In all due respect to Ms. Bishop, and I'm assuming she's an attorney.
She's not an attorney.
She's not an attorney. All right, and then I feel better about making this statement. Anybody who honestly thinks that highlighting something in a cover letter carries more weight than changing the terms in a contract, which really is what this resolution is. Otherwise, they would just be asking us for a cover letter saying that we agree with their program. They ask for a resolution because it carries a lot more weight.
I totally disagree with you. You put it in the resolution, you run the risk that they're going to reject it, and you run the risk that you're exposing this township to a builder's remedy lawsuit. I am advising this council that...
Everything I read said, I read exactly what Mrs. Townsend read, that that's not in fact at all the case.
Well,
In fact, that they're going to bend over backwards trying to accommodate people, and if you could, you're complying with every single thing in that except saying, hey, if this is overturned in the court, we don't have any obligation.
Well,
That's all you're
Mr.
saying.
Stevens, when you get a law degree, maybe you can tell me, but I can tell you, that putting that language in there puts this township at risk. Those resolutions are form resolutions that have been issued by COA. If this council puts that language in there, I can't assure them that COA will bump our petition. Then how do I explain
You
that?
can't assure them that they won't either.
I can't either. I can't do that,
Right,
but
either.
do
No,
you
all right,
want to
that's
take
all
that
right.
risk?
Okay. On affordable housing obligation, under 649, I was just curious what that money's, I realize it's grant money, but what are we actually going to use that for?
Council President, this is another grant from the Department of Community Affairs for the Neighborhood Preservation Program for the planning and implementation of the program.
And 650, I was going to have the same question, and you explained that already, so I'm not going to ask it again. My only question is, why is this the only one when we talk so much about South Edison? Why isn't there any efforts been made so we could broaden this over a bigger spectrum of the township, so more people in the township would in fact be eligible to participate in programs like this?
Council President, it was the previous council and I think this council that supported the effort to target a program in the Amboy Avenue area. And the Neighborhood Preservation Program, one per town, has to designate a certain area with boundaries, and this is the area that was selected by the Department of Community Affairs.
All right, 662, in terms of the, it's great that we're getting pumpers. It's certainly not meant any criticism to get pumpers. We certainly could use additional trucks. My only comment would be, I thought I heard somebody say that these are sitting on a lot ready to go. So I'm wondering why we would have to wait up to 150 days for them, why it isn't like a quicker 30-day type of turnaround. I don't expect them to drop them off tomorrow morning, but.
They are in Wisconsin, okay, and they will be delivered to the local dealer. The equipment will be mounted on it, and then, you know, the axes and things of that nature, and then delivered to us. Now,
All right.
They put in up to 150 days, basically because we have a penalty clause in there, that if we don't deliver by a certain time. So what they told me was just to protect themselves, but they fully expect to
All right.
deliver ahead of that.
That's good, because we've heard a lot about the need for additional fire equipment.
Yes, sir.
So I'm glad to see we're getting that. 663, I'm just curious, I hope that we're just buying a piece of equipment they already have, because there was a huge article in the paper the other day about these people going out of business. And so I hope that nothing that we're getting there has anything to do with having to deal with them on an ongoing forward. Apparently, it's an organization that's been there for literally 90 years, and the gentleman finally decided to close up shop. So I was just curious about the vendor there, not what you're getting, just the fact that I hope that particular vendor doesn't really have anything to do with it. It's a manufacturer that will be responsible for whatever we're buying there.
That's correct.
All right.
Yep.
Because he's going fishing, and it's well deserved, absolutely.